That is right, you are listening to the one, the only Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. Of course, I am joined with B.A. Awesome, Anna May, and Big Boss Paul in the studio. Spoiler warnings ahead, by the way. We lost not one, but two major characters in a matter of 5 minutes of each other.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. And so, okay, right off the bat, what were your guys' thoughts on the overall episode as a whole? And do you think that the deaths, after, waiting this time, you think they were worth it?
After the cliffhanger, which I felt was justified from the airing of the episode, because that last episode of season 6, Last Day on Earth, was awesome. It was exactly what it needed to be. It was tension all the way up, and then you got the little taste of Negan. You got to see that this is going to be, when they came back, it's going to be a different world. It's going to be very, very different, and they delivered on everything they did. So I feel like the cliffhanger was justified, and we got exactly what was promised. It was a game changer. This is a different show now. I think it was one of the best episodes of the entire series. I know it's hard because everybody loves the characters who were killed off. I know we're going to spoil it, but I just want the reveal to come at with somebody else's words.
Somebody else.
I was going to say, do we want to wait until about halfway through the episode to reveal?
I'm going to talk about that.
I think we should. But I'm just saying, with the two characters that we lost, the way it was, pardon the phrasing, but the way it was executed was
dun dun dun.
Probably it was true Walking Dead, and I think it was a great episode.
I think it was the perfect introduction for Negan. I mean, you got like B.A. said, you got the taste at the end of last season. This season, you got the full weight of the brutality. I mean, between the two deaths, the RV ride, I mean, just everything. It showed exactly how brutal, how controlling, how tactical, and how much of a danger Negan is going to be to this group. And yeah, I agree with B.A. The cliffhanger was completely justified, almost necessary, I would say, because you had to have that tension at the very end of, oh my God, who was it?
And just real quick to add on to that, I felt like if they would have killed off anyone on that last episode of season 6, the weight of Negan's introduction and that whole speech and Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance would have been lost, because everybody would have been grieving, as we can see now. They would have been grieving too much for these characters, and it would have been like, oh yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, what's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He was awesome. Like,
he was the Negan or whatever his name was. He was pretty good on this. Yeah.
It would have been. It would have went under the radar, and it would have totally ruined all of this build-up. People have been waiting 7 years.
Yeah.
For this.
Completely agree.
Ask me and look back to the archives. I've always been saying,
I know.
Negan's coming.
Negan's coming.
And
now he's here.
After Negan was introduced in this last episode, I went to JazzHandss' personal Facebook page, and I'm like, I want to see what's happening. This is like Christmas morning for this kid.
Yeah.
I had to see what he thought, because I knew, like, it's a big deal. This isn't just like, hey, here's some nameless villain that we're going to be done with in a couple episodes.
Yeah, this is going to... it's like Yvette Nicole Brown said, the ramifications of this episode are going to send shockwaves through the rest of the series as a whole for the next good couple seasons, at least, until we get another new big bad or they resolve Negan, or even then after that. So, Anna, what were your thoughts of the episode?
Cliffhanger 100% had to happen. And I did like what B.A. said about if we had seen who died. No, but we wouldn't have wanted... Well, we would have wanted to see the next episode, but we would have not had the satisfaction of having to wait so long. So, yeah. But the two who passed, I was over to friends, luckily, and I screamed into a pillow. I was so just angry and upset, and just the emotions just exploded.
So, my overall thoughts of the episode, I mean, I liked it. I really, really loved it. I thought it had some good build-up. The only thing that was kind of annoying was they did push back the deaths a little bit. Granted, structure-wise, and I guess because of the anticipation going in first time watching it, I was like, I really want to see it, I really want to see it, I really want to see it. And so it was kind of a little torture till they finally got midway through the episode and then they revealed who it is and then who it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that was torture, but rewatching it, it built up quite nicely, actually. And I thought that was a lot smoother. And the only other thing I'll say, because I guess I'll break the ice. Like
Break the silence.
like Negan broke.
You'll take a swing at getting us.
Yeah, I'll take a grand old swing like Negan did with
You'll be
both
the one to crack at it.
with both Abraham and Glenn's heads. So
Moment
there
of
you
silence,
go.
please. Okay,
For,
moment's over.
for our fallen for our fallen brethren. But it's a major death, and this is just kind of how I feel. It was a major death. It was really, really sad, and it's really sad to see him go because I absolutely love Abraham. However, there's still a little part of me that feels that his death was to kind of mask Glenn's death coming up, so that people from the comics would be like, oh, okay, well, Glenn's going to be safe. All right, so we got this out of the way. Abraham's dead. It's sad, but we're good. And then all of a sudden, and thanks, Daryl.
Thank you, Daryl.
For
Hey, I know that there's still stuff I want to talk about from Negan and Rick's RV trip.
Oh, yeah, we totally glossed over that.
But when it comes to Daryl, just since you brought it up, I just want to jump. There's already an anti-Daryl Reddit section.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of people blame him, but I have some thoughts about it. I don't know. If
no,
you
yeah,
guys
go
want me- I don't know
go
what
for it. That's
order
fine.
we
We're
wanna
gonna
go in,
we're going with pretty much order, I guess. If there is any,
we could always flash back later. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
True.
I mean, the whole thing is we're gonna have to talk about the death because that was the important things, and then we're gonna get into the more character-driven.
But with Daryl, lashing out and punching Negan, which led to Glenn's death.
Mhm.
I don't think Daryl probably thought, you know what, I can't. He's gonna hit Rosita because she won't look at Lucille. I'm jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, he'll take me out, but I don't care because Daryl is emotional. He's angry. He lashes out in unpredictable ways sometimes, and that was an example of it. I don't think if he knew it would have been somebody else in the group, I think he would have been made. Hopefully, he would have been able to control himself, but you could tell he just couldn't help it. Mm-hmm. So he just lashed out, and as much as it, he did technically inadvertently cause Glenn's death. He didn't, he had good intentions going in, I guess.
I really think that Negan was looking for a reason. I think Daryl gave him that reason, but I think, like B.A. said, had it not been Daryl getting up and decking him, it would have been Rosita not looking at it or somebody else, Rick not saying something. Negan was looking at this point for a reason to say, okay, I'm going to really hammer home my point, no pun intended. And I really think the way they changed it from the comics was great. And I will say this, I did call it just really wrong and in the wrong order. Yeah, I was just like, wow, okay, because I honestly, at the end of the season, figured it was Glenn getting it, and then Abraham would do what Daryl did, and he would beat Abraham to death.
Mm-hmm. But of course,
I did not figure that Abraham would be the first one, which, looking back, that was a smart move on Negan's part. Mm-hmm. Who's the only one that stood up to him and did not cower down? Abraham. Who do you want to take out? The one who's not going to back down from you.
Mm-hmm. And just the kind of, because I have my notes, I pulled
Yes.
out an event Nicole Brown, and I brought notes.
Your notebook looks nice, by the way, B.A.
Thank you. I feel like the reason Negan chose Abraham was because he rose up to him when he walked by, because he saw somebody, I might not be able to break him, so I will break him.
Yeah,
literally.
In a different way. Mm-hmm. Too defiant to be broken. Let's make an example. Yeah, he's strong, and you could use strong people to help procure your half of the deal that Negan has now laid out. I want half your stuff.
Half of everybody's caca.
Yeah, and he saw that as, you know what, he may be physically strong, but I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to take him out. And when it came to Glenn, I think he knew he was going to, the second somebody lashed out, he was going for Glenn. Mm-hmm. Because Glenn reached out for Maggie when they first brought everybody out. So he saw, here's somebody else who may not be as big and strong as that guy, but he's spiritually strong, and I don't know if I can break that. He has something to lose. So let me relieve him of that pressure of having something to lose. And he took him out. And there's a couple moments where you see Negan smiling and laughing when he's not necessarily laughing, but he did smile. I noticed a smile when he got everybody back in line. He kind of had a smile before he said, nope, that will not fly.
Mm-hmm.
There was a smile, and I don't know if that was Jeffrey Dean Morgan breaking having too much fun, or if that was Negan having too much fun.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to mention about you guys seeing the facial reactions on Negan. He was, when he was doing Eeny Meeny, which, by the way, I'm never going to be able to hear that again without thinking of Negan. When he was doing that, he was psychologically analyzing them. You could see he was watching every reaction on their face, and as B.A. and Paula both pointed out, Abraham stood up. He's like, come at me, I can take this. Everybody else kind of cowered down or was already crying, like Glenn was or Maggie was. Well, Maggie, we can say on pregnancy emotions, but he was psychologically analyzing them just by, and you could see when he smiled, it's like, oh, there's someone I can use, there's someone I can break. Oh, you're not gonna back down? Okay.
Well, it's one of those things. I watched a interview recently with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he said it was like, somebody asked him, who's better, the governor or Negan, and what Jeffrey Dean Morgan, said was he's like, oh yeah, I love the governor, but Negan is just this big bad, and the whole thing that's scary about Negan is that he's not crazy.
No.
Well,
the governor was crazy. Negan has it together. He knows what he wants. He knows how to manipulate people, and he's going to do it. And that's where I think he's dangerous. He's not some psychopath.
Well, and he's not the bad guy.
No.
Yeah.
He doesn't see himself as a bad guy. He sees himself basically as Rick's equal with a different camp. He's not bad. He just understands the way this world works, and he's looking out for his people.
Mm-hmm.
And in a weird way, I think Negan, like you said, he doesn't feel like he's the bad guy. In a way, he thinks he brought the world together.
That's why his group's called the Saviors.
And exactly. And it's just he has power. Where the governor, had power, but he was so afraid of losing it, and that's what drove him. It ended up driving him insane because he lost his power. Negan has no fear of losing that power. He has it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is confidence. I think me and you, we talked about this in the past. How governor, like Rick and some of the people are different sides of the same coin. I think Negan is Rick if Rick went the other way.
Either way, so kind of getting back on track a little bit with Abraham's death, because his was the first death, and I feel that we definitely have to really more cover it in depth. What do you guys think is going to happen with Rosita and Eugene and even Sasha now that they've lost essentially the one person that they all really cared about, that kind of honestly pulled them together in this world and kind of either brought them back from the brink of I don't want to live anymore, or gave them a reason? What do you think is going to happen with them?
You could see, I mean, especially with Rosita and Sasha, you knew that once Abraham went down, you thought they were going to break, but they broke in a different way than how, we'll say, Aaron broke, or, even with the rest of the group, how they broke. You could see there was a break in their eyes, but it wasn't surrender to Negan. It was, oh, you did not just do that.
I think everybody that has relied on Abraham, and one thing that really kind of caught me off guard was the fact that Rosita and Sasha both looked over his body and were like, we're doing this together. Because before there was a little bit of animosity because Abraham was kind of,
Bouncing
switching back and forth and maybe a little more interested in Sasha than he was in Rosita, and that had been a thing before. They didn't have this whole petty, it was like, okay, no, we're working together. Mm-hmm. That was something that I found really interesting. I think Eugene is actually going to, I believe the phrase for it is sack up because of Abraham's death. Mm-hmm. But one thing that Anna kind of touched on, Negan broke the group, but Negan was worried about breaking the men down and breaking their will to rebel. He didn't pay attention to the effect he was having on the women in the group. And I think one thing that people overlook is the women are the dangerous ones in this group. Carol. Oh, sorry, I had a little thing in my throat here. the women did not break the way the men did. The men just kind of, okay, no, this guy, we're not going to mess with him. We're done. We're not doing this. All the women, if you've noticed, and I will say this, and Carl.
And Carl, too.
Seemed to look at Negan like, you got us now. We're going to kill you later. They were looking at Negan the way Rick said to Negan at the very beginning of the episode. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I will kill you. They weren't saying it, but they were looking at Negan like, no, this is not going to fly.
You know, when it comes to, like, the people around who were closest to Abraham and how they broke, Rosita, obviously, I think she lost it the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She had, even though Abraham was with Sasha, it was a very short time, Rosita still probably wasn't over him.
No.
There was no way. She was still upset. She's still mad about that situation, but she probably doesn't care about that anymore. She just lost the whole group, but I think she feels like she lost him more than anyone else. She really lost it. And Eugene couldn't even, he kept covering his eyes. I don't know if that was, Josh,
McDermott.
Thank you. I couldn't think of his last
Josh
name.
McMullet.
Yeah. I don't know if that was a choice. He's covering his eyes like he can't even look. Like, he lost it. They all lost it. And, there were points where they would show Carl and he wasn't crying as much as everyone else. Yeah. And that was a little weird. But,
my friend kind of pointed it out where when we were watching it, she was like, his not like his performance, like he did a fantastic job, but it's like he just seems kind of hollow. Even when Negan told Rick, do it, and he was just like, do it. He seems kind of like a little bit emotionalist and like detached to certain situations. And so I hope we kind of get into that more, because I don't think it's the actor acting bad. I think that's what he was given. It's like you're hurt, you're sad, but have it not affect you as much as everybody else. And one thing that I wanted to say about Negan is that there were certain moments when he was talking to the group, when he was doing whatever. There were moments where you knew he was loving what he was doing. He was loving bashing Glenn and Abraham's head in, but then there were also moments where he kind of all of a sudden genuinely seemed, I'm sorry that you guys bought me to do this. I'm really sorry that I have to do this, but I have to do this. When he was, when he was talking to Rick after he popped Glenn's eye out and was like, guys, I'm sorry. I know this sucks. This isn't fun. But you bought it on yourselves. This is what you have to do, and so we're going to have to live with it.
And I know we still haven't fully talked about Glenn's death, and I know we're getting there, but really, if we look at this whole episode, all things considered, it could have been way worse. He kind of took it easy on them. Yeah. How many people did Rick's group kill of his? And he's just like, 2. Like, Grant, and I know it may seem weird because there are people who are really grieving Glenn and Abraham's death, like they're taking it hard. But, like, if you really look at it objectively, it could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have killed everyone but Rick and Carl and said, now you go back and tell the rest of them they work for me.
Did you notice that at the end of the episode, Sasha was like, I'll take Maggie to Hilltop. You guys can go. I'll take Maggie to Hilltop. I think, for me, Sasha's kind of taking on an attribute of Abraham, and it is get the mission done. I'm going to start setting missions for myself, and I'm going to do these missions, and that's how I'm going to survive in this world. One other thing I want to point out with Maggie is that you guys notice after it was all said and done, she was going, and she was like, let me get Maggie. I need you guys to go home. I need you guys to go home. It was kind of one of those things where she's lost her immediate family, but she still looks at these people as family, even though she's mad at Rick.
When they went to go move Glenn's body, Rick's like, let us help you. He was our family, too.
Yeah.
So I think after everything, I don't want to say settles down like it's just be a couple episodes, like, hey, it's all right. But it's going to be once things kind of are processed and they've kind of start getting on it, they're distracted by other things, that will probably be of some comfort to her. I don't know if she's sticking around Alexandria because I feel like being at the Hilltop with the doctors is probably a better thing.
The best place for her.
But I also look at it like she's lost so much. Maybe, the new haircut, the new, this new life that she was not prepared to live with.
Yeah.
She's going to need a bit of it, now that there's a place you can go, now that we know that there's more in this world, maybe she will go somewhere else because that's what she's going to need to do. We can't predict what's going to happen because the world's different. This is not the same show.
Yeah.
And I was making my breakfast today, like getting ready to come up here, and I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know. Glenn's gone. Like it's weird. It's going to be weird. Like because Glenn was always there.
Yeah.
Always.
And you see people reacting in very real emotional ways, like people crying, weeping, throwing stuff at their TVs, so upset. It's like, think about this group who have been through so much, and this guy is just gone.
Yeah.
So it's going to, not just Maggie, but I think Maggie's going to take it the hardest, and we're going to see a different Maggie.
Yeah.
I feel like we still need to talk about Glenn's death more, but I know we should probably take a break.
Yeah. We're gearing up to take a break, so we'll talk a lot more about Glenn's death when we get back, and then we got to talk about Rick and Negan's road trip of hell. We're gonna get through this together. It's gonna be a rough ride, just like the show. We're just getting started, so stay tuned.
Oh, we gotta go, Beth. We gotta go.
Stay tuned for more Dead Air on 89.5 The Wave with Jazz Hands.
Bad ideas for an Olympic event. This would take the gold.
Dead Air is back on 89.5 The Wave with Jazz Hands.
Today's your lucky day, fellas. You've been pardoned by the state of Georgia. You're free to go.
That is right. You are listening to the one, the only Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. I'm your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss, joined with B.A. Awesome, Anna May, and Big Boss Paul to talk about last Sunday's very epic, very heartbreaking season premiere for Season 7 of The Walking Dead, titled The Day Will Come When You Won't Be. Let's dive back in. We were mid talking about Glenn's untimely demise and how the group's going to be shaping now because of this. Because this character has been with us for 6 years now.
It's going to be really, really strange. And I thought it was said best with on the Talking Dead when Chandler Riggs tweeted or texted in and said, I'm really going to miss this guy. I've grown up with him. And Hardwick goes, oh, my God, yeah, we've been on 7 years. He really has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you think about it, it's like, wow, that's just crazy. But, yeah, he has grown up with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So we got to talk about what he said to Maggie in his final moments.
Oh.
What Glenn said to Maggie in his final moments. I will find you. What do you think?
When he said it, I had to go back and listen to it again because I couldn't quite make it out at first. Mm-hmm. But once I knew what he was saying, it was one of those. At first, I'm thinking, did he hit him? And this is going to sound messed up, but did he hit him that hard? Did he think they're separated? I was just in that moment so confused. But then I really thought about it, and they said it on Talking Dead, and it makes sense even if you just think about the fact that these two people are in love. I'll find you. When the time comes, I'll find you again.
But yeah, I agree with BA. It was one of those things where I was kind of confused myself at first. I really did think he hit him so hard that he was back in that mindset when they were separated, back when he was going through Terminus.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, but I guess I took it more of as because this episode has been fully psychological. Mm-hmm. I took it as him saying I'll find you. It's well, hopefully the baby's gonna be born, the baby's gonna be okay. So it's I've said this. That's even if Glenn isn't there physically, the baby that Maggie's carrying is a sign and symbol of the love that they shared for over six years. You met in season 2.
Well, 6 years for us. It could be I don't know how long.
Oh yeah, we didn't know how long
the
time period was, but whatever. However long the show was, that they have made this symbol of love, and it's even if I can't be with you, be there with you physically, I'll watch over you. I'll watch over our daughter or son or whatever the baby decides to be, and I'll find you and I'll be there with you.
Awesome. So I think we do have a caller here. Lady Lavender, is that you?
Yes, this is DJ Lady Lavender. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
How you been?
Everything's going good. I've been good. I'm actually on my way to school, so I have like about a good 5 minutes to talk, but I had to say something about this.
Oh,
please
let's do it. Do it, please.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm kind of tired of crying because my heart dropped like several times this weekend, so I just have to say that Glenn and Abraham, they were both, mostly Glenn. I don't want to say mostly Glenn, but Glenn was my baby. So I do not believe that it was Daryl's fault that Negan went and did that. I think Negan was going to go ahead and kill somebody else regardless, whether Daryl provoked him or not. And Maggie, oh, Lord have mercy. Maggie's killing me, for real. And she still is so very strong. It's like, girl, you are sick, you are pregnant right now, and you still have the nerve to say, we gonna kill him. It's like,
What are your thoughts on Negan?
Negan, I have mixed emotions on him. It's like I hate him for real, but in a strange way, I actually like his character.
I understand that too.
It's like that's the kind of evil and psychotic that I like.
Yeah,
I can understand that because I mean, he's not a good guy, but he's not a bad guy either.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, he's the only character that I think ever that's like, oh yeah, cut off your son's arm, and I'm like, oh, this guy's so cool. You know what I mean? Like, in this weird way.
Yes, and it's like, I know you were going to stop him. You weren't going to let him do that because he kept saying, I'm still getting the same look from you, and I don't like it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how, like, a guy like Negan becomes Negan. That's how he gets power. You hate the guy, but there's something about him that just draws you to him.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, did anybody else... Because when Negan threw the axe out of the car, did anybody else, like, did he throw it up on the roof, or did he just throw it? Like, because I don't know how it got up on the roof.
Yeah, I was confused about that, too. I thought he threw it out, and so was Paul.
If you go back, you can see him throw it up.
Oh.
But the way he throws it, because it's so foggy, you can't really tell where it goes. Oh. But if you watch it close enough, you can kind of see him, like, when he throws it, it looks like he's throwing it out, but he's really throwing it up.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
It took me a couple rewatches.
I was going to say, that landed perfectly up there.
And I was like, is there something that I'm not getting? Did he throw it on another RV? And then it's like, no, wait, that's their RV. So that confused me. But what did you think Glenn meant to Maggie when he said, I will find you again?
I couldn't even watch that scene because, his eye, and it was all like, oh, my gosh, why are you trying to talk right now? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's just the fact that they will always be together. No matter what, they will always be together, and they will always, I mean, a part of, I hope she does, but a part of Glenn is still living on with Maggie's baby, so they will, I do believe that they will find each other again some kind of way.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. So I guess for everybody, what are your final thoughts, and how do you think the group will move on now that they've lost two very important characters?
Final thoughts on the two of them? I guess Abraham first, considering he was the first to go. We're not going to forget any of his amazing lines. I'm glad when they did the in memoriam on Talking Dead, they hit like Dolphin Smooth and, some of the other ones we can't say on here. Just all of his awesomeness, and it's going to be sad that we're not going to hear him, hear him and say any of those new ones, or I don't know, maybe punch Eugene because he's not a scientist or something like that. It's going to be so heartbreaking not to see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was going to just say, who's going to loudly ask who people are?
Yeah.
There we go.
Who's Deanna? Like, I love that, and it still makes me laugh. I'll just randomly say it in the middle. Like, it doesn't even have to make sense. I'll just yell, who's Deanna? And I laugh because it made me feel good.
But, yeah, Abraham just brought such joy in his very odd way. And then we go back to Glenn, who's been with us, the audience, since season 1, and we've seen him progress from being a lonely pizza boy to getting a girlfriend to getting a wife to being a badass.
Lady Lavender, what's your final thoughts on both Glenn and Abraham?
It's going to be real hard watching the rest of the season without those two. Like what Anna said, I'm going to miss Abraham's lines. I'm going to miss Glenn's growth. And just the fact that Maggie, she's not alone, but she is kind of alone now. And I love her strength that she has. And I'm just going to hate not seeing them or hearing them at all, and just seeing how Maggie, Sasha, and Rosita are going to have to make it through all of this. I just hate everything about it. But I'm actually very optimistic about I'm optimistic about what is going on next.
I agree. I think that's a good way to look at things. It's a good outlook.
It can only go uphill from here.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get worse.
Uphill to the hilltop?
It almost has to get better.
I'm trying to keep I'm trying to see the brighter side of this. I can't see it yet, but I'm trying to look for it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But just losing those two characters, like, I always liked Abraham. I feel like he's such a strong character in so many different ways. Yeah, he had all the great one-liners, but he added something to the group. He added that focus, that drive at times, where, hey, we got a mission, we got to go. And sometimes, yeah, he could be stubborn. He has his ways of doing things. I'm one of the. I know some people were like, oh, it's Abraham, whatever. But I liked Abraham, and I don't want to see him go, but I know he had to go. Mm-hmm. I think, like everyone else, Glenn's is going to be the hardest one to deal with. Mm-hmm. Like, he was there from the beginning. He was he saved Rick and from the walkers surrounding the tank. He's evolved, but he always stayed very true to who he was. Out of self-defense, he's killed people before, but not like cold-blooded like they did with the Saviors. Mm-hmm. And he stayed so true to himself towards the end. And like Stephen Yoon, his wife, even said, he died thinking about someone else. Those last words to Maggie, "I'll find you." Like, they did his death justice from the comic book. Like, it looked just as graphic and brutal as the comic book. Yeah. He went out the only way that, because of the book, that I would have wanted him to go out. Like, going out in the like last season by the dumpster. That's not good enough. Mm-hmm. He deserves a send-off because that character meant something. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see people emotionally responding to his death like they knew the guy. And that's a testament to how good he is in that role and how good the show is. But really, it's him. You put anybody else in there, I don't know if they can make you feel that way. And it's going to be hard to watch the show not going like I'm going to probably watch a few episodes and go, man, where was Glenn? Oh. Right.
Yeah.
Damn. And that's how rooted into the show he is. And that I'm going to miss the character.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters because he was genuinely a good guy.
Big Boss Paul, final thoughts on Abraham and Glenn?
It's going to be a really, really different show without them. But like so many things, I think this is going to be a catalyst for them moving forward. And I think one of the biggest things that is going to be affected by this is the women of our group. I don't think Negan thinks women can be that strong and fight back. And Negan has yet to meet Carol.
For me, those two characters, they're ingrained now. And Stephen was one of the first characters. Stephen Yeun Glenn was one of the first characters we see. And his death is definitely... It hits hard. It hits hard, and it's a sad, sad death.
I'm going to ask this question for everybody. I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Would we all agree that this is probably the most emotional, impactful death in the entire show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Definite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm just happy they both got great final death lines.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Abraham's was total Abraham's. I mean, I can't picture him saying anything else to Negan than
what he
exactly
said.
what he did.
Yeah, exactly.
And Glenn's was perfect Glenn.
Yes.
Exactly. But we're going to miss these two characters. Michael Cutlitz, Stephen Yeun, you guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Round of applause
Great
all around.
Job, guys.
It was amazing, and thank you both for the incredible journey and all the one-liners and all the fun. So thank you. But now we got to switch gears, and we got to talk about Rick and Negan's little road trip. Because there was a lot. I mean, this whole entire episode, it was clear that you could see Negan was breaking down Rick, and he was testing Rick. And he is a badass to where he's the only person that would be like, oh yeah, cut off your son's hand. And I'm like, this is cool.
And because you brought that up, Negan taking Daryl after having killed Glenn and Abraham.
Yeah. Now,
I
that's
think
something I can't get into. But I want to thank you guys for having me on here. I have to get to class, and I'm glad to talk to you guys again and be on 89.5 again.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
Good to have you.
Yeah, it was good having you on. Hopefully, next time you can actually come in to the studio and we can actually have this huge, long discussion again. But thank you so much, Lady Lavender.
I hope so. Yes.
It was good talking to you again, Lady Lavender.
Thank you guys so
Great
much.
talking to you.
See you, Lavender.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
That's kind of actually brings up to the next subject that I want to talk about, because being taken by the Saviors. Now, Daryl in the past, we've seen he's a chameleon. Once when he's in a group, he kind of blends in. Do you think that we could be getting a storyline where we're going to get maybe at first Daryl pushing back a little bit, but then because the Saviors might be exactly like how he grew up, Big Brother Merle, do you think he could kind of not become evil, but revert more into the Savior's way?
I think he'll adapt, because that's what he does. He didn't want to, with Joe's group. He adapted. He didn't like it. He wasn't really used to it. Like, he was going to have a hard time at first kind of getting used to it, but he would have adapted. He adapts. And like when they went to Alexandria at first, he was reluctant, but now, once he kind of got in with, people and he felt like he had a place, he'll find a place, but he's not going to lose, okay, I got to get back to those people. Like, if this was a few seasons ago, maybe he would have found himself more on the Savior side and willing to adapt to that and be on, not necessarily on their side, but understand that's how I'm going to live and survive.
See, and this is where I think the story is going to come into full hold, where with Daryl captured by the Saviors, we're going to get more contact with them, and I really think it's going to get to the point where Daryl might be the one that whenever he gets out or whenever something happens and he finds Rick, he's like, look, a lot of those people aren't bad people. They just fell in with the wrong crowd, and if we give a lot of these people a way out and say, hey, you can be safe. You don't have to do this. You don't have to give Negan.
You don't have to live
anymore.
in fear.
Yeah, they might take it.
The numbers is what Negan has. He has numbers, and it's at the point where I think maybe some of those guys can be swayed the opposite direction. But at this point, if they're safe and they're doing what they got to do, this is the type of world where you don't necessarily go, this isn't working out. I think I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck. And that's the life that these guys have. It's what they know. So it's going to be, it's hard to say, because like we said before, this is a different show now.
Yeah.
This world, this show now belongs to Negan. We're going to get introduction to the kingdom soon.
Yeah. Next
Shiva.
episode.
And
next
who
episode.
knows how many other groups there are. How many groups does Negan really have his foot on?
Yeah.
And when, he has all of them in check now, but what happens when they start talking to each other? Yeah. How much can you push somebody until they start pushing you back?
Right.
Yeah.
We've seen it in real life, in the world. You can only push somebody so far, and either they break or they find a way to rise up. And I've said this about the group in my many pages of show notes here. I've said this, at this point, the group is at its lowest, and it could get worse, but the harder the fall, the sweeter the ascension.
Yep.
It's going to, it's going to be one of those things where Rick and them have to suffer. Otherwise, it's like, who cares? There's no struggle. There's no story. There's no anything. And a show like Walking Dead, it's all about the worst possible scenario. There's probably not going to be a happy ending to this show. There's going to be unhappy endings because it makes the good stuff mean more. So, like, and vice versa. All the happiness that Glenn and Maggie had in that moment after Negan takes the first shot, and he mutters out those words, Maggie, I'll find you. It makes that so much more impactful. That's why you have people who are so upset and they cry. It's because a show like this knows how, I don't want to say emotionally manipulate you, but they know how to get you hooked in.
They pull at your heartstrings.
And it's one of those, if you can't feel that, like, there's shows that you don't care. Like, people don't care. Like, it came and went, they've consumed it, it's done. If you can have a show that hooks people like that, you got to use it. Otherwise, it's just like, I've seen people say it went too far, it was too brutal, it was too much, just too much. But it was the episode is exactly what it needed to be, because that's what this show is.
Last thing, because we're gonna be wrapping up, but predictions for next episode, and then the season, and then we shall be done.
Next episode, well, we got the preview that we're going to see the Kingdom, which, I hope we get to see Shiva at least for a couple of frames of the episode.
I think we will. I got a good feeling we will.
I want to see Shiva, but I think we're gonna take a break because we have had all this hardship in this episode. It's like, okay, we're gonna go divert and go see what Carol and Morgan are doing. And Carol seems to be recovering. I'm surprised. I'm kind of weirded out to see her in a wheelchair, but I mean, we had to see her in a hospital bed the one time. I think she's gonna be recovering, despite how much she may not want to. And Morgan's going to be, helping her out, and we're going to get, our introduction to the Kingdom and King Ezekiel and everyone. And for the season, honestly, I'm not sure. I want to know at some point. I want at some point that maybe the group, they're staying at Hilltop part of the group's maybe staying at Hilltop with Maggie. Maybe the other part of the group's back in Alexandria, which we see with Rick and saying, Negan's in charge and I'm not anymore. I'm hoping maybe we'll get some interaction between Alexandria, the Kingdom, and Hilltop. Not just maybe have their own separate episodes, or maybe we'll have traveling. Like we'll have Aaron traveling between Alexandria and Hilltop to kind of bring news about what's going on with Maggie. So I think he's going to stay with Maggie. I think him, Sasha, Rosita, and maybe Eugene are going to stay with Maggie. Everybody else is going to go back to Alexandria and go get everything figured out. I'm hoping nobody dies, but I'm having this bad feeling that somebody might. So, not sure who yet.
As far as what comes up in the next episode, I think it's pretty fair to say we already kind of know. It's going to be Morgan, Carol. We're going to catch up with them. We're going to meet King Ezekiel and the Kingdom, and we're going to get an idea of what that is. We need that break. We need maybe a couple episodes where we don't know what's going on with the main group. So, that's where I'm at that. We know what the next episode or possibly two is probably going to be. The rest of the season, I think we're going to come across maybe more than just two other groups, like the Hilltop and the Kingdom. I think there needs to be at least two more groups, just for the numbers. Just for Negan has so many guys, and we still don't know if that's all of them. There's no way that's all of them.
No way.
Yeah.
Because you don't leave the compound unmanned.
Yeah.
Unmanned. Yeah.
You don't take everybody with you. That's ridiculous. It's like letting the only doctor go out on a voyage. She's going to get shot in the eye.
Yeah.
And, you don't let, essential people who don't need to leave. You got to hold up the fort. But I do think we're going to get more, the world's going to get larger. It may feel like it's getting smaller because we're losing people, but I think we're going to get more survivor groups to kind of, even out the numbers. I think the rest of the season will be building towards the preparation for war between the Saviors and everyone else. The coalition of survivor groups. I think we're not done with major character deaths. Not by a long shot. I think
we shouldn't be.
I think we're going to lose a couple more people. There's a theory that there was on the table when they did the the hallucination, the fantasy, the Sunday dinner. Morgan took out two. There was 4 candles on the table. Morgan put out 2.
Ooh.
There's 2 left, I think. Maybe 1 or 2 left.
Ooh.
But anyway, the rest of the season, I think it's going to be about the group coming to terms with the world the way it is and finding a way to build themselves back up. And maybe at the end we prepare for war, or we get the first shot, or maybe we don't. Maybe this season's all just about them suffering, and maybe it ends on some slight good note where the groups all get together and they're like, "That we got to do this.
That would be good.
We got to take a shot, otherwise, what are we living for?"
Yeah.
And maybe that's how the season ends. It's hard to say. Who knows? Because these 2 deaths that we just have to deal with now.
We didn't think it was going to be this bad.
Who knows what's going to come next? And that's that's part of what makes Walking Dead what it is. You never know.
Yeah.
It could get a whole lot worse before it gets even slightly better.
And I think that kind of is how the season should go. For my kind of overall predictions, I think I do agree. I think we're going to get what I think is going to happen is we're going to be splintered in between different the different groups to kind of keep everything interesting and fresh, so we can have an episode that's following Morgan and Carol in the Kingdom. Then I think we're going to have an episode where we follow Sasha and Maggie up at Hilltop, and we're going to be dealing with Hilltop. Then I think, like you said, adding the new group, we still haven't even gotten to Tara and what's his face running in the woods.
I totally forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
running in the woods. But it looks like it's either the ramifications of they're running into another Saviors group trying to hunt them, or they run into a completely new group. And from the other trailers, it looks like they're going to be more groups, but I think it's going to be splintered. I also think we're going to have Daryl/Negan episodes that are back at the compound and seeing what Negan's doing. So I think they're going to be splitting everything up, and I do think maybe either mid-season or end of the season, it's going to be everybody's aware of each other now, and then this group comes together. It's like, well, if your town does it and your town works, and we're going to have enough men to actually take on Negan.
What if the season ends with them all knocking on Negan's door asking for half their stuff back?
Oh,
that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I'm going to predict is I think Morgan might die this season.
What? No.
I think Morgan's going to be the one death.
He's the one who puts out those candles, so maybe I'm not reading too much into it. Maybe he's like, oh, I'll get these guys for you, and then I'm on my way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it could be one
I'm
of
reading too much into it because I want answers.
Yeah.
We all want answers.
I think we're gonna get answers.
We waited 7 months for these answers. I'll be damned if I have to wait 7 days for more.
Exactly. I'll be damned. But either way, we've talked quite a lot. But thanks everybody so much for tuning in. It's been so much fun. Same time, same place.
It's good to be back.
Next week. It's so fantastic to be back.
Even if it was on a very sad note.
Yes. And again, Stephen Yun, Michael Cutlets, you guys did a fantastic job, and we're going to miss you. But thanks again. It's been a blast, and we'll see you next week on Dead Air.
Ta-ta.
Bye,
See
everybody.
you guys.